On today's Toy Spot, we're having a look at the NECA Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, Maurice. This incredible figure comes to us from the folks over at NECA Toys and is one of the 3 figures from the new Dawn of the Planet of the Apes toy line. It is recommended for ages 14 and up. It does contain small parts. In this case, it looks like Maurice does come with a book. We'll look at that more when we get this out of packaging. Speaking of which, on the back of the packaging, the other 3 figures, or the other 2 figures that make up this 3-figure set, there's Caesar, Koba, and Maurice. You can collect them all. You can head over to www.necaonline.com to check out the Dawn of the Planet of the Apes figures, and certainly the multitude of other property figures that they are producing figures for. Spot's going to take a break and get this opened up. When we come back, we're going to get a better look at Maurice. There's more heading your way, guys. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. For your accessories, Maurice comes with a little book, a little novel here. Some really nice vibrant red on the outer covering of the book, and you can actually even see the painted pages or painted lines indicating the use of, or the indication of pages in the book. It doesn't open or anything like that. It's just a plastic piece, but really, as it stands for a little book to include with Maurice, it's a nice touch. Putting that just to the side. And having a look at this figure, it's a phenomenal piece. And Spot said that really for not only both Koba and Caesar. And each of them really bring great aspects, great things to the table. Caesar had incredible sculpt. Koba had phenomenal paint. But Maurice really is an amalgamation of both figures. A fantastic paint job, but taking nothing, absolutely nothing away from this phenomenal sculpt. I mean, to think that somebody would sculpt all these individual hairs, all the individual bunches of fur that you see here, it's just, it's mind-blowing. The paint really brings all these sculpts out. And I guess really to that matter, if Maurice had just been, say, a black and white figure, you still would have really benefited from all this beautiful sculpt. I mean, look at that hair. Look at the individual bunches of hair on Maurice here. And even right on the back here. Also, too, if this was one singular color, it may not show as well the sculpt, but because they put this extra wash, this dark gray wash around the back section here, and really, for that matter, there's a bit of a darker wash running in the top area of the arms. It really brings a depth to the sculpt and the fur. Face-wise, it's just a beautiful piece. Again, not just one coloring, not with one paint, but it looks like there's about 3 or 4 different washes of paint on the face there. There's also a little bit of sheen right underneath Maurice here, just indicating a little bit of I don't want to say like moisture, but a little bit of reflection to the skin there. I guess really the only downside to Maurice is, unfortunately, tough time standing. Because the feet are sculpted a certain way, it really fits itself that it should be, like Maurice should be attached to something, like a, like a branch or, something along those lines. Luckily, though, Maurice does have peg holes on the undersides of the feet there. So had you had a display base, which I think this is the one figure that really needed a display base, it would be much easier to display and stand the figure. You really have to do a little bit of adjusting, kind of put more of the weight forward on the figure to get it to stand. But I had a bit of a tough time getting it to stand because the figure is a bit top heavy. Now granted, Spot's of course, reviews this on a material backdrop, whereas if this was just a flat shelf, you probably would have an easier time holding the figure. And, you could also adjust the arms to get the figure to stand. But, yeah, it's a little harder just because the toes are curled as opposed to being flat bottoms. That perhaps even had NECA included flat feet as well, would have made things a little easier for displaying Maurice. I guess really for that matter, Maurice could have been like, you could have Maurice kind of displayed leaning to the side, or, you know, like kind of crouched to the side reading the book. But that's really the only negative that I would say about the figure, is it's a little harder to stand the figure just because the feet are curled the way that they are. For your articulation though, Maurice does have a ball joint in the head. Rotates quite well actually for the head, moves up and down, although kind of stops right around there for the head to move further back. Shoulders on a ball and hinge socket, so they do rotate out, and then you know, forward and back. A nice bend and rotation can also be said for the forearm, and a nice ball joint in the hand. When you get to the torso, the upper torso is ball jointed the same way that Caesar and Koba were. Also some articulation in the leg, although a little more limited because of the sculpting on the bottom fur section here. Maurice does though have a ball hinge socket, allowing the leg to swivel back and forth and rotate. And lastly, the feet are also on independent ball joints. I would say maybe if anything, this figure would be good if it's maybe leaning against something. It's a great figure, but the feet, I think if anything, it could have used maybe a display stand just to kind of help the figure stand a little bit better. That being the only real strike, this is a gorgeous, gorgeous figure. And really for comparison, we'll bring the other two figures in that we've had a look at. There is Caesar, get him to stand properly, and there's Koba. There's the three apes figures. And each of them bring their own blend of, bring their own good things to the table. Just beautiful paint on Koba, a great sculpt on Caesar, and again, Maurice, I think, is a combination of the two. Beautiful sculpt, fantastic paint, equaling an incredible ape, or I guess chimpanzee. For that reason, I'm going to give Maurice a 9.5. Today's Toy Spot, we were having a look at the NECA Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, Maurice. Stay tuned, guys. Spot's going to have more Toy Spots heading your way. And as always, I'll see you next time.